Good morning, class, the receiving school students and the teachers of the receiving schools. How are you all this morning? We are very well, thank you. And how are you this morning? Very well, just like you, thank you. You may all sit down. Now I'd like to welcome the class, the students of the receiving schools and the teachers back to term 2, making a living for grade 7s. Now this term we will be on a new strand, and the new strand, I'd like the class to read for us what our new strand is going to be for the whole term. Okay, managing resources is going to be our strand for the rest of the term. From this strand, managing resources, we have 3 sub-strands. Now, managing resources is controlling and looking after everything we depend upon to make our lives good. And especially in managing resources for this term, we'll be looking at the natural resources that we have. Now, the first sub-strand is land and water. The first sub-strand is land and water. Now, we use land and water as resources. From the land and water, we get especially food, as food is one of the human basic needs to survive. We also need water to survive too as well. Now our second sub-strand, groups 1 and 2. Environment. Environment is the second sub-strand. Whatever is around us is the environment that we talk about. And the environment provides us water and land as resources. If I can have Shane to tell us what the third sub-strand is. The third sub-strand.
Crops and animal management.
Good. Crops and animal management is the third sub-strand. Crops and animals are also part of the, what is it, class? Crops and animals are also part of the environment, and we use them as resources, and especially for food, we need crops, whatever plants that we have, and animals too. Now we'll be looking at the outcomes for each of the sub-strand. Now for the sub-strand land and water, we have the outcome 7.1.1. If I can have Jennifer to read that for us, please. Jennifer.
Investigate and compare consequences of mismanagement of land and water resources and plan.
Okay, investigate and compare consequences of mismanagement of land and water resources, and plan, design, and undertake a small project using appropriate management practices. So that is the learning outcome for the sub-strand land and water, outcome 7.1.1. If I can have Tanabik read for us the sub-strand environment, outcome 7.1.2.
Investigate and undertake practical ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle ways to benefit and improve the local environment.
Very good. Investigate and undertake practical ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle waste to benefit and improve the local environment. Now, those are the substrands and the learning outcomes. Now we look at the substrand, crops, and animal management, and if I can have Messi. The substrand environment and the outcome substrand crops and animal management, and the outcome 7.1.3.
Explain appropriate crops management and animal husbandry practices and demonstrate these through practical.
Okay, good. Talking about the substrand, it's explaining appropriate crop management and animal husbandry practices and demonstrate this through a practical project. Now we look at, while listening to your friends reading out the outcomes, we have some terms like consequences and management. Group 1, if you can read for us the definition or the meaning for the word consequences. Group 1 together. Good. Results or effects of an happening that is not good. Now, in 7.1.2, we have the terms reduce, reuse, and recycle. Gail, reduce. Read the definition for us. Reduce.
Making something small.
Making something small. Harold, reuse. Reuse, the definition for reuse.
Use it again.
Use it again. Reuse meaning use it again. Elisa, definition for recycle. Recycle.
Repeat things in order.
Good. Repeat things in order. From 7.1.3, that outcome, we have the term husbandry. Here we are not talking about a woman's husband. This is to do with animals. Okay, if I can have Trisha, if you can read that for us, Trisha. The definition for husbandry.
Racing for looking after animals.
Raising or looking after animals. Now, as humans, we are all humans. Besides humans, we have things like the animals and the plants. Now, as humans, in order for us to survive, we have about 4 basic needs. We have about 4 basic needs as humans to survive. If I can have Aloysia to tell us what the first basic need is. Our human basic need, the first one.
Somewhere to live.
Somewhere to live. Good. Paul D, the second basic need.
Food to eat.
Food to eat. Thank you. Quarry, the third basic need. The third basic need.
Water to drink.
Water to drink. Adrian, the fourth basic need.
Clothes to protect us from the cold and heat.
clothes to protect us from the cold and heat. Now, these are the basic human needs that we all need to survive, to live. Now, from these 4 basic needs, we will be basically looking at the 2 basic needs, which are food to eat and water to drink. Now, where do this food that we need to eat and water that we need to drink come from? Where do they come from? Or where do we get them from? Rachel, where do we get the food and the water that we need to survive?
Environment.
From the environment. Very good. From the environment that we live in. Now, so because we need that food to eat and the water to drink to survive, we have to use them and manage them well. Now, that is briefly through the strand, the substrand, the outcomes, the definitions, and the basic needs, basic human needs. Now, I have activities for us to do on the introduction to our strand managing resources for this term. And the first activity, this is brainstorm activities. Probably some answers you get them from whatever I have gone through so far, or from your friends, answers that your friends have given. Now, if I can have group 3 to read for us our first activity. Group 3. Okay, so you only need one answer to write. Pass it down. And one for you. Just one word answer for the first question, one down to the back. One down to the back and one for you. That's one word for that answer for activity 1. One word answer. Discuss and write where all our basic needs for food and water come from. Francis, if you can read for us our second activity question. Second activity question.
What are natural resources?
Okay, your second activity is to write down, again in groups discuss, and the recorder writes down what natural resources are. What are natural resources? What are natural resources? A sentence answer. A sentence answer. One sentence answer for that question. What are natural resources? Did you write your first answer? Or you have to write it quickly? Just write with pen. No, just with pen. I'm not going to collect them, so just write with pen. And then you'll have to have somebody to give your answers quickly. The third question, Patricia, third question for the activity that you are doing. You have a third question.
Why must we use and manage these resources carefully?
Why must we use and manage these resources carefully? It's talking about the natural resources. Why must you and I use and manage these resources carefully? Once again, that's a sentence answer. Your answer should be written in a sentence. Just write it in pen quickly and have somebody out.
Things we use that are not man-made. Things we use that
Okay, if I can have Brendan to write the answer for question 1 on the board. After that, we can all go through together. Question 1. Justin, question 2.
why must we use and manage these resources carefully?
Violet, the third question. The third question, Violet, you will write the answer on the board. Justin, the second question.
Because we can't survive without them. Yeah, because we must look after it carefully. Nutrients by Golo and Waraya.
Okay, good. Thank you. Violet, the third answer for the third question. Why must we use and manage these resources carefully?
We will be benefiting from it. And as Sarah Reitman, you will kill a
Right, good. Thank you. We have answers from group 1, 2, and 3. The first answer to the question, where all our basic needs for food, where do all our basic needs for food and water come from? The answer we have is environment, okay? If you had environment together with your friends, you give yourself a tick for that. Environment is the correct answer. Okay, the second question, what are natural resources? We have the answer, things that come from the environment naturally. Very good, excellent. You give yourself a tick. If you had something like things that are around us in the environment, that's still correct. Or things that we get from the environment. If you have an answer that has the word environment or nature, your answer is correct, so you give yourself a tick. Okay, our last question, why must we use and manage these resources carefully? I'd like the class to read the answer we have on the board, please.
Because we can't survive without them.
Okay, because we can't survive without them. Now, if you had your answer a bit similar to that, you give yourself a tick. We need to use and manage these resources well, because if we take care of them, they will be always there for us to use, and also for the people in the future. People who are yet to come, yet to be born, they must still have these things, resources around them, so they can use them. Now let's look quickly at what we have just gone through so far. Our basic human needs. The first basic human need, Nigel. The first basic human need. Somewhere to live. Thank you. Group 7, the second basic need. Group 7. I'd like, yes, okay, thank you, Alan.
Food well. Food to eat.
Food to eat, thank you. Orvin, third basic need.
Water to drink.
Water to drink. Doveri, fourth basic need.
Close to prepare classrooms.
Yeah, close to protect us from the cold and the heat. Now, from those, apart from those 4 basic needs, we need food and water to survive. This food and water, we get them from the environment. So we must all learn to use them and take care of them, manage them well. Now, next lesson activity, I'd like the class to read that for us together. Okay, now, our next lesson is going to be viewing a tape, and this has to do with resources. And as the title of the tape should already give you the clue of the type of tape that we will be looking at. Now, in watching this tape, to the receiving school students and the teachers, in watching this tape, I'd like you to take note of the type of activities that are done to spoil the environment or to spoil land and water that we need to survive. We go to the key phrase, Hercules. What do you think our key phrase is going to be? Okay, managing resources is the key phrase. Okay, with that, good morning class, the receiving school students and teachers.